Tam, him. Tvam, you. Vidama, we know. Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param, the Supreme. Atmatattvam, absolute truth. Sattena, by your form of pure goodness. Samprati, now. Ritim, love of God. Rachayantam, creating. Esham, of all of them. Yat, which. Te, your. Anutapa, mercy. Viditai, understood. Dridha, unflinching. Bhakti yogai, through devotional service. Udgrantaya, without attachment, free from material bondage. Hridi, in the heart. Vidu, understood. Munaya, great sages. Viraga, not interested in material life. Translation. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental, eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Purport. The Absolute Truth can be understood in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the Absolute Truth. Even though the four Kumaras were instructed by their great learned father Brahma, they could not actually understand the Absolute Truth. They could only understand the Supreme Absolute Truth when they personally saw the personality of Godhead with their own eyes. In other words, if one sees or understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the other two features of the Absolute Truth, namely impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, are also automatically understood. Therefore, the Kumaras confirm, you are the ultimate Absolute Truth. The impersonalists may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the Absolute Truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the Absolute Platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, any quality, goodness, passion, or ignorance is contaminated. Even the quality of goodness here in the material world is not free from tinges of passion and ignorance. But in the transcendental world, only pure goodness, without any tinge of passion or ignorance, exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his variegated pastimes and paraphernalia are all pure sattva guna. Such variegatedness in pure goodness is exhibited eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. In one sense, absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others, because this distinct feature of transcendental variegatedness can be understood only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord and not by mental speculation or the ascending process. It is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by him. Otherwise, without his mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the Absolute Truth. This mercy can be perceived by the devotee when he is completely freed from contamination. It is stated, therefore, that only when all contamination is rooted out and the devotee is completely detached from material attractions can he receive the mercy of the Lord. Translation again, spoken by the four Kumaras. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Om Gyanachimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A great personality is glorified when other great personalities speak of the glories of that great personality. In other words, if a fool glorifies someone, it doesn't mean so much. But if someone who is highly qualified glorifies someone, then you take it seriously. So we're hearing the testimony of the four Kumaras, who initially were attached to Brahman realization. They were attached to the all-pervading oneness as their shelter. But what happened? As you know, the transcendental variegatedness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead pulled them out of even Brahman realization. The realization that so many mystic yogis, sadhus, and sages strive for, just by the four Kumaras smelling the aroma from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were attracted beyond Brahman realization. So it's important that we understand that Bhagavatam is giving us the testimonies of the greatest personalities. And therefore, when they say something, it has value that we can't calculate. If someone with no qualification says something, what value is there in that? But because you're being informed of the caliber of the four Kumaras, and you're seeing their transition, therefore you give attention to what they're talking about. They're talking about Bhagavan realization, the last word in spiritual realization. So let us first understand this point, that the stature of a glorious person is magnified when others who have qualification glorify that person. Otherwise, what is the use of so many fools saying something? Who in their right mind would take seriously what someone who has no qualification would say about a subject matter that requires so much qualification? And here the four Kumaras are saying, this transcendental, eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service, by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Understanding Krishna is far from an ordinary thing. as Krishna himself explains in Bhagavad Gita, Name vidu suragana prabhavam maharshaya. The greatest sages can't understand me. Even the demigods, the devatas, cannot understand me. And one reason they can't understand me is that in every case, I preceded them. They can't understand what came so far before them as the origin. Most people have a difficulty with the transcendental form of the absolute truth. As stated here, that when persons, the impersonalists may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the absolute truth. In one sense, that seems logical to your material speculation. And that material speculation plays such a prominent role in conditioned life. You think you've got it all sorted out, that you finally understood the body is an instrument of suffering, and the material world enforces constant dissatisfactions and disappointments on you. So then you think the solution is no more variety, no more form, no more activities, no more personality. That is spiritual. And then you hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so nicely decorated as seen by the four Kumaras. And you think, well, that form may be a meditational device, like a ladder to get you to a higher level. But it's not the ultimate. That form is not the ultimate. So this is speculation. That I know. I've experienced individuality, personality, relationships, form, qualities, activities. It's all material. Therefore, there's no doubt that the absolute truth must be impersonal or even void, emptiness, because we have seen that the fullness of material existence is so problematic. So in this way, we can understand how consciously or unconsciously we're so affected by impersonalism. That's why when we offer our pranams to Srila Prabhupada, we say, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatani. Saving, actually not simply the Western countries, but the whole world from impersonalism and voidism. Impersonalism and voidism are the products of proud brains. We have seen, and you can give some credit to impersonalists or those who are attracted to impersonalism. You can give some credit if they understand the futility of material existence. They're starting to calculate. They're starting to add things up correctly. Like 1 + 1 equals. But then they make a huge mistake. They calculate that material existence is futile. We're not the body. They understand that we are Atma, not the body. We are spirit, soul. And that material activities simply lead to repeated birth and death, the accumulation of karma. But then comes the miscalculation. You can just see it. 1 + 1 equals, and then the answer 3 is given. So it seems like it's getting somewhere. So much so that sometimes people think, what's the use of this Krishna Bhakti, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahamadami? Just understand you're not the body. Simply stop engaging in material activities and then That's it. You're free. The fear of material existence that so pervades our consciousness comes from ignorance. So those attracted to impersonalism and voidism know that. So since the fear, which is so prevalent in material life, comes from ignorance, all you have to do is get knowledge of attachment to material nature and detachment from material nature, and that's it. No need to worship Bhagavan. No need of that meditational device of Krishna. You just need the knowledge, pure knowledge of that's beyond the material energy. But what does Narada Muni tell Vyasadeva in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto? He explains that Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhavavarjitam nashobhate. Even if your knowledge is devoid of karmic activity, even if it's free from the clutches of the material energy, if there's no understanding of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you only have partial success. And partial success is not enough. Even if you actually have Brahman realization, it's just partial success, which can quickly become your undoing because you, unlike the 4 Kumaras, you begin to offend the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying, oh, your form is all Maya, it's all illusion. Look at your ornaments. We're hearing about your fragrance. So in this way you become an offender. The 4 Kumaras were not offenders. They were progressive. They started out being focused on the impersonal realization, and then they made further progress, but they never blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Your form is Maya. Or as the impersonalists have concocted, your form is the highest embodiment of Maya. They think that's really giving some credit. Maya, in its highest manifestation, has taken the form of Vishnu or Krishna. But when you realize it's just the highest form of Maya, then what is your position? You've surpassed everything. You've surpassed even Vishnu and Krishna. And wherever they come from, what's beyond them, you are one with that. So in your being one with this imagined impersonal ultimate, you are more than Krishna. You're more than Vishnu. You who have failed in countless material births suddenly are more than Vishnu and Krishna. So this notion is there among some persons who think they're very shrewd. And yes, give them a little credit. They've understood material life is frustrating. And so they think all I need to do is detachment. Persons who are not only impersonalists, but also voidists, shunyavadis. They think like this also. They stress detachment, detachment, detachment. All your problems are because of desire and attachment. Just become mindful of your desires, become mindful of your attachments, cut them as much as possible, and then you are merged with the ultimate reality. You can't get out of the illusory energy that way. You must have a superior shelter that only Krishna can offer. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mamamaya Dharatyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayametam Tarantite. This illusory energy of mind is impossible to overcome, Krishna says. Unless you take shelter of Krishna, you can't do it. So it's not just about detachment. It's not just about no desire. It's about taking shelter of Krishna with attachment and with desire. So sometimes you'll meet persons, what to speak of your own self, who may have been attracted to the notion of detachment. You may have been a little shrewd in figuring out that your problems are due to attachment, material attachment. So all you have to do is become mindful of that and cut away all your attachments. Even in this dense darkness today of the age of Kali, sometimes you meet persons who are able to show some significant detachment in their life. And they think that's it. That's as far as one can go. But as Narada Muni spoke to Vyasadeva himself, you haven't gone far enough in simply negating material attachment. You must become attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and understand the science of divine attachment. The four Kumaras actually had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before. But they saw him through the instructions of their father, Lord Brahma. Still, that's seeing. Don't say, well, it was just the instructions. Now they're seeing face to face. Yes and no. You see, in bhakti, there are different intensities about seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's not that the four Kumaras' initial seeing by hearing the instructions of Brahma had no value. They were making gradual progress in getting over their attachment for impersonalism. But again, remember, although they were attached to impersonalism, they never offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying that, well, he actually has no form, he has no activities, he has no qualities. All those suppositions of form, qualities, and activities are just impositions meant as a meditational device. But once you realize that they're impositions, then you move beyond. But where in Bhagavad Gita do you see anything about beyond Krishna? The words make no sense. It's like if the little baby says goo goo gaga. Similarly, it's the same, beyond Krishna. It should not make any sense to you. If you in some way think that statement makes sense, then you understand there's still material contamination in your consciousness. But if you ever hear someone say beyond Krishna, it should sound the same to you as goo goo gaga. As Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata pratram nanyat kinchadasti dhananjaya. There's nothing beyond Krishna. Krishna has no inside, no outside. There's nothing beyond him. Everything is his energy. Yet, although everything is his energy, he's still a person. But because we have never seen an individual like that, an individual who can claim everything is his energy, yet at the same time he's a person. So your mind, your material mind, automatically rejects that. Nah. This is why we need to study very thoroughly the science of Krishna. So the four Kumaras heard the instruction of Lord Brahma. And by taking those instructions seriously, eventually their seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead thickened. It became more intense to the point where they saw him right before their eyes. But my point to you is that even by their just hearing the instructions of Brahma, they were seeing. But they're just different levels of intensity in seeing Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Rapsoham apsukontaya, I'm the taste in water. So if you drink some water and think Krishna's the taste, you are seeing Krishna. It's not that Krishna is just speaking poetry. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya, I am the light of the sun, the moon. I am the original fragrance of the earth. These are not just poetic statements meant to capture your fancy. Krishna's teaching you how to see him. So because Krishna says, see me in this way, if you follow his instruction, you are seeing Krishna. But there are different degrees of intensity in seeing Krishna. So we want to make that point clear. Even the neophyte is seeing Krishna. The four Kumaras saw Krishna through the instructions of Brahma. By hearing those instructions, they were seeing. But as they progressed in their bhakti and surpassed their impersonalism, their seeing was more intense. And you know what happened? They smelled the fragrance of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That fragrance of the lotus feet was mixed with the fragrance of tulsi leaves that were on the feet. Just by smelling that fragrance, the consciousness of the four Kumaras totally changed. And they achieved the last word in spiritual development, Bhagavan realization. So now they're declaring about their attainment. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. In other words, your form is not made of material nature. It's not even made of material goodness, sattva guna. It's got nothing to do with the material world and the material energy. Still, it's a form. So this bewilders so many wannabe transcendentalists. How can form be spiritual? And not only are we talking about form, but a form decorated with ornaments, and you're trying to tell me that's not material? So therefore you need to understand the various energies of existence, the material energies and the spiritual energies. There's sattva guna, the material mode of goodness, and then there is shuddha sattva, pure goodness, which is found outside the material world. We read in the purport, the devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. So in that way, Srila Prabhupada explains, the absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others. Because you can only truly understand the transcendental variegatedness by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why in Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati, only by bhakti can I be understood. So you're restricted in understanding Krishna. You're restricted to the methods endorsed by Krishna himself. But sometimes people take that to be fanatical. But just think, let's say if Radhika Prasad says, if you want to meet me and understand me, show up at this time, at this place. Here's the procedure. Make an appointment, and so on and so forth. And then what are you going to say? Well, you're being fanatical. You're being an exclusivist. If I want to know you, I just show up any time, any place, 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Walk in through your back door, open a window to your house and come in. Doesn't matter. Everything is all the same. How can you make these stipulations that I should come at a certain time and have a certain comportment, a certain way of behaving? How can you do that? If you're truly spiritual, just anything goes. But because you're making these stipulations, you only come at this time, then my family will not be disturbed. No. You can't do that. You're being sectarian. So what we won't accept for ourselves, we try to push that on Krishna. Just be quiet, Krishna, when you say that only by this way can you be understood. Be broad, Krishna. Just be open to any possibility. This is envy. So therefore, in that sense, the absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, because you can only understand that transcendental variegatedness by the mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead. It is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality Godhead when one is even slightly favored by Him. Otherwise, without His mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the absolute truth. So the Kumaras got some slight mercy. Their father, Brahma, told them this, that, and the other. And so gradually, the four Kumaras realized what their father had taught them. They heard from a proper authority, and they applied that knowledge, and now they're getting a more intense result of seeing the Supreme Personality Godhead. But let's go back to our previous statement, our previous theme, that even a neophyte is seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if someone asks Srikanta Sena, do you see Krishna? Don't get intimidated. Well, I don't know, but others, they're seeing Krishna. But, I just got initiated a few months ago, and I do plan on seeing Krishna one day. Wait, let me ask my wife. Maybe she's seeing Krishna. But you can tell them, yes, you have seen Krishna. Oh, come on now, how can you say that? Say, you just pick up some water and Rasahom Sakonsya, Krishna is the taste. I'm seeing Krishna. When you smell the original fragrances of nature, I'm seeing Krishna. Now, of course, as we already explained, there are more intense gradations in seeing Krishna, but still the fact is, even a neophyte is seeing Krishna. And you not only see through your eyes, this is a common misunderstanding. Seeing is done by the eyes. In bhakti, seeing is done by the tongue especially. When you chant Hare Krishna, you're seeing. When you taste prasad, you're seeing. No one has any doubts when they're taking prasad. No one gets tired of taking prasad. But when you're utilizing your tongue in Krishna service, you're seeing Krishna through the tongue. You're seeing Krishna through the ear when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And also you're seeing Krishna in the Archa Vigraha, the deity form, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. You may not know what you're looking at, but still you're seeing Krishna. A little child crawling around in the room here sees people, but doesn't really understand what he or she is looking at. Even Krishna and Balaram would imitate that in Vrindavan. Before they could walk, they would crawl on the ground in Vrindavan, and they would hear ankle bells. And they thought the ankle bells were coming from their mother's ankles. And so they would crawl. And then they would find out, no, it's not my mother. So they're seeing, but in their childhood lila, their pastime of demonstrating the behavior of the supremely affectionate, attractive child, they saw, there's other people, they heard ankle bells, but it wasn't their mother's. Of course, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for Krishna and Balaram, that's all lila, that's all pastimes. But for us, it's the fact of conditioned life. Something can be right before your eyes, truly right before your eyes, but you don't know what you're looking at. So the deities are like that. They're right before your eyes. So you can truthfully see. You can truthfully say, I'm seeing Krishna. But how much do you realize that? That's another thing. So you can tell someone, yes, I'm seeing Krishna. You can see him too. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would answer that way when someone would ask, well, have you seen Krishna? He said, yes, and so can you. And they look, what do you mean, so can I? So in this way, the science of bhakti has unlimited depth. Because there's no limit to real love. Similarly, there's no limit to the intensity of what you see in bhakti. And seeing in bhakti is not just something that happens with your eyes. You see through your ears. You see through your tongue. The 4 Kumaras are seeing through their nose. They're smelling the fragrance from the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The fragrance of the feet mixed with the fragrance of tulsi leaves. Now, who do you know in material existence who has been attracted to the fragrance coming from someone's feet? But this is the supreme beauty of Krishna, that his feet not only are beautiful to see, we say the lotus feet, because the lotus flower, if you've ever seen a perfect lotus flower, it's the most beautiful thing in the material world. So, although it's a material thing, it's used in an example, in a metaphor, so that you can get some understanding of how beautiful Krishna is. A lotus face, lotus feet. So you have the beauty of the feet and the fragrance of the feet. But just think, if you're an impersonalist, this just sounds outrageous. You're talking about feet? That's got to be material. Certainly beyond this presentation of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the fragrance coming from them, certainly beyond that is Brahman, the all-pervading, the formless. Why do we think like that? Because of envy. I can't do that, and I don't know anyone who can do that, so therefore I jump to the conclusion that the Supreme Reality has no transcendental variegatedness, no variety, no individuality, no personality. That's an indirect way of dragging someone down that has something you don't have. This is jealousy, this is envy. Done in a tactful way. Just like, let's say, someone hears that, well, the North Sydney Temple has a traveling Sankirtan party. They're going all the way up north, and they'll be distributing so many books. So what do you say? Yeah, they just give them away. You have to puncture the balloon, you have to bring them down. So similarly, this is done in relation to Krishna. You can't accept that Krishna has unlimited beauty in form, qualities, activities. You can't even accept that as his name. No, it's just a meditational device, or it's a metaphorical expression of Brahman. So this mistake is throughout the world, especially there in India, where people think that yes, there's Vishnu, yes, there's Krishna, yes, there's Narayan, but they're all embodiments of the material reality, and beyond them is the pure Brahman. So that's why India is pervaded with impersonalism in the way of, whether you worship Vishnu, Brahma, Krishna, Shiva, this, that, the other, they're all portals, all doorways to the divine, to the Brahman. This concoction has made such a tragic situation. So when you tell people, even in India, especially in India, how Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, the impersonal Brahman is based on me, the person. It's like news. Everyone knows Bhagavad Gita, is aware of Bhagavad Gita, but no one takes it very seriously. So, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna says, the impersonal Brahman is based on me, the person. Even logically, you can understand that. It takes a person to be impersonal. It takes a person to give someone the cold shoulder, to pretend someone's not there, to suspend all personal dealings. Maybe you've done this to someone, yes? In your dealings at the workplace, or maybe some customer at your business and they're demanding this and that and you just pretend they're not there. It's like your eyes are open but you don't see them. Your ears are open but you don't hear them. Why at the workplace or business? Sometimes this happens in one's own family. You can do that because you're a person. So even you have an impersonal manifestation. But you do that because you're a person. So Krishna has an unlimited impersonal manifestation, but it's subordinate to him, the person. So the Kumaras are clarifying their status now. So we're no longer attracted to your impersonal presence. We understand your form of uncontaminated goodness. Your form is of energy that is not of the material world. You are not wearing your form. You are the same as your form. In the spiritual reality, we are the same as our body. In the material illusion, we are different from our body. Krishna is the same as his body. His associates in the spiritual world are the same as their body. The body is not material, however. So in this way, the four Kumaras are demonstrating the various phases of spiritual realization, particularly impersonal Brahman and Bhagavan. If you understand Bhagavan, you understand all the preliminary phases. So therefore, while explaining about impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, Srimad Bhagavatam focuses on Bhagavan. If you can understand Bhagavan, then everything else is included. But if you don't understand Bhagavan, and you're just focusing on impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, your realization is incomplete. You haven't found your constitutional position, your eternal status. You haven't found it yet. Therefore, you'll be restless, unsatisfied. You can't be satisfied with anything except service to Krishna. So please remember that even the neophyte is seeing Krishna. So you can tell persons that, yes. In answer to their question, have you seen Krishna? I'm seeing Krishna, yes. And they'll look at you like, oh, come on now. You can tell them, you can also see Krishna. And there are different levels of intensity in seeing Krishna. Just like Lord Brahma, in the Brahma Samhita says, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He's describing in those Brahma Samhita prayers his seeing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his understanding of the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are different levels. And if you're hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, you're seeing Krishna. You're seeing through the ears. All right, any questions? Yes?
On this point of seeing Krishna, we understand that Krishna, his potency in his name and in various forms, they're equivalent. But still, when we, for example, taste water or we may chant his name, we don't obtain or we don't attain that full realization. Is the Lord simply not appearing for us because we're not at a particular level of realization?
Yes, Krishna says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samarvata. I don't manifest myself to just anyone. He has his energy that is like a curtain to prevent those who aren't qualified from seeing him. What about you? Not that anyone can just come rushing into your home and, I want to see you. Where's your wife? I want to see her. Say, wait a minute, who are you? You can't just come rushing into my home and... So you have standards, you have protocols. At the workplace, you can't just go rushing into the boss's office unless you have been granted that kind of access. If Shravanananda Prabhu is teaching at the university and giving a lecture on enterprise data analysis or whatever, and some student just from another class just opens the door and rushes in, wait, I want to talk to you. You'd be shocked, right? You call the university security. So, Krishna reveals himself to those who are qualified. That's what the four Kumaras are saying. He reveals himself in increasing proportion. Yeyatam mam prapadyate tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As you surrender to me, I reveal myself to you, Krishna says. Personalism, the very personalism that you do, that you practice. If someone shows that they're your well-wisher and friend, you confide in that person. Because the person has earned your trust. Anything else? Yes? Yes, from one point of view. Sometimes he'll say it from another point of view, but he's just showing you how hellish it is to be an impersonalist because you're denying the form, qualities, and activities. You're saying they're all Maya. That's why the term Mayavadi is there. The truth you think is Maya. Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are Maya. You think that's the truth. And at least, you see, looked at from that point of view that you said, at least the atheist sense enjoyer knows that I want the variegatedness of material existence. Whereas the impersonalist wants to deny material variegatedness and spiritual variegatedness. It doesn't work out. You have to have some variegatedness, some rasa. You have to get some rasa, some flavor from somewhere. Looked at another way, the impersonalists are better because they at least understand you're not the body. They understand their Atma. Anything else? Yes? You're presenting Srimad Bhagavatam because you're authorized. So you have the right to present Srimad Bhagavatam, you have the right to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because you're authorized. Without being authorized, it's true. You can't function. But you're taking that order through parampara to speak and read and distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is your qualification. Anything else? Yes.
If the exalted personalities like the four Kumaras have only slight mercy, as you mentioned, of the Lordship, what chance does the Kaligates have?
What chance does the?
What chance to the Praja of the Kaliga?
By hearing Brahma speak, they got that slight mercy. And then when they smelled the aroma from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they got the full mercy. Even slight mercy is of unlimited value. But you have taken birth in Kali Yuga, a Kali Yuga in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving away Krishna to even persons who know nothing about Krishna. So you happen to take birth in the yuga, the particular yuga in which Krishna is giving everything away. It's a most miraculous paradox. To the most unqualified, in the most unqualified time, Krishna is giving away everything. So yes, we should always meditate on that inconceivable paradox of Krishna appearing as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.